And I like to think that a lot of my job is, if I can't meet a problem, like the advert says, I know a man who can. And so often there's a phone call and a very ready and easy response. Yes, we'll help. There's no end to the ways in which the mission seeks to help. Whether it be the fisherman himself, his family, you name it, we care and we're there. So that's what we've been trying to do over these 109, 111 years of the mission. And it goes on and on. Times change. Maybe Miss Wood and Miss Watson, when they were in Fraserburgh those years ago, people who still remember them with a great deal of affection, mission was very different from those days. Maybe some are very sorry that it's so different, but times do change, and they would certainly come back to see a very different world, not just a very different mission. They would see a very different Fraserburgh. But just as they cared in their own special ways, so each of us in our particular ways go on caring. Since those days, Fraserburgh has changed a great deal. The boats have changed, away from the sailing boats and now to huge vessels and to one of the biggest and premier ports, not only in Scotland but also I think anywhere in the world. A fleet to be proud of, men to be proud of. And indeed this year, 1992, we've had a lot to be proud of in the celebration of 400 years. In all its different ways, fishing has been so much part of the town. The mission has only been here since the 1940s, the late 1940s. And so a lot has happened. And who knows what the future will bring. This year we've had the enormous privilege of welcoming Her Majesty the Queen and Duke of Edinburgh, not just to the town but also to the mission, where they met with a number of the widows and were obviously very moved by the conversations they had. And Her Majesty also visited the memorial room in which the plaques of men who have been lost at sea are on the walls and others in the Book of Remembrance. This was opened in January of 1991. Perhaps it was my own experience that prompted it, but even so, it wasn't for me, it was for them. The men who've been lost at sea, for their homes and their families, because of course, as you may know, when a man is lost at sea, it's very rare that his body is recovered. There is no grave, there's no funeral, there's no actual place of remembrance. His widow, his family, maybe will look out across at the sea and wonder where their loved one's resting place really is. To them it might be that there's something left that they haven't done. Often a funeral is the last act, love's last act, and they're deprived of that. And the memorial room is our hope, is our intention that that should be that remembrance place. And then of course in the blessing of the fleet that we remember every year, thankful for God's blessing and protection and providence, and to be able to entrust Him for all that's to come. And maybe that's all that any of us can ever do. Life is very uncertain. It always is, it always has been, and no more so than for fishermen. One moment everything's fine, and the next life is turned upside down. And so whatever way our life goes on, whether it's here at the mission or whoever it might be that's here, whichever superintendent might be at Fraserburgh, and any of our came to Fraserburgh, it didn't take very long at all to realise that here was a place to be proud of. And what better than to show off the fishing industry, the boats, the processing sector, everything, to make people aware not only here, but also all over the country, that fish was something that really people ought to take seriously. And I remember going back into my younger days when I was brought up in the Yorkshire Dales, how exciting it used to be to go to an agricultural show. The town meets the country. And so I thought, well, why not have something similar when the town, the visitors, would meet the fishing? And what better way than to celebrate the fishing industry of Fraserburgh? And so in 1988 we had the first of the Fraserburgh Fishfestival events that have gone on every year since. A year of activity ending up in a time of real celebration. The idea was that we should have a shop window for all that the town has got to offer. And for that to be a shop window for the fishing industry itself, when the fishermen, the skippers can come along and see products and services that are just for them, but also to present it in an interesting way in which the ordinary visitor, as well as the townsperson, could come along, have fun, taste the fish, and celebrate in a unique way. We could hardly believe things when it got off to such a wonderful start. Thousands turned up and have continued to do so every year since. And indeed it's become not only the major event of the town, but also something that we often get phone calls about from all over the country. People wanting to know when the Fraserburgh Fish Festival is taking place. I think one of the reasons for its success has been that it isn't just a trade fair, which is fine for people who are interested in that kind of thing, but quite boring to everybody else. Here is something that the whole family can come to. They can attend the demonstrations, have helicopter trips, go on board boats, taste the fish, know how to cook fish. It's really a celebration day. And we certainly hope the Banff and Buchan Enterprise Trust, as it now is, and ourselves who have been organising the event ever since it started, it certainly is meant to be something that we can enjoy and that will promote the town. People will know about Fraserburgh. People have something to really put their shoulders back and say, I'm proud to be a Brocher. That might sound strange to an Englishman who doesn't have the tongue, but if I don't have the tongue, I have the heart. And that was the whole point of it all, that we should be proud of the town in which we live and be thankful that we live here.